Hello everybody, my name is Farmer Phil, and in today's video it is that time of the year again. It is time to get ready for calves, and as you can see it is lovely and bright outside because we are burning the midnight oil because we're really busy at Slurry and there's just not a chance of me getting time to do this in daylight, so we have to get ready for calves in here. Dolmac feeder is still set up from last year. Yes, curious, sort that. We just have to turn it on, run through it. I'm going to turn it on, not now, but today in this bit to make sure that, see what EirCodes if I have any, and just give it a run through with change piping and probably get acid, compressor. Move all these pallets, keep that clean. Bales of beans out for blinding. The straw then that is up here, we don't have to move right now because I'll have enough space for the first batch or two batches of calves in the hay shed area, and then I can do the rest of the lean-to after. We've moved straw. Now we have more straw than what is here. We have a 3-bay hay shed on the new farm is full of straw, and also about another 50 bales with square bales included on another farm. So we've lots of straw. We're not short on straw, so we have to move out that straw as well and move the tractor and move that. The shed was power washed out before the straw went in, so it's clean, ready to go. And we have some wood chip here. So this is wood chip we got done. So I done a job for a lad moving a tree 5 foot across in the butt, mad. But this is the wood chip off the branches of it. So we got that. So I don't really want to put in the millpeat under the calves because the millpeat only holds moisture and then bubbles up through everything. So avoid that, but I want the wood chip, and I'm going to put that wood chip into there. We have more wood chip ordered. So when we get that, we'll do the rest of the shed. It just mightn't be in time. Calf supplier rang today. So when we come in for calves, he's getting a bit on the full side. So I was like, right, give me 3 days. In 3 nights, I should have it done. So, yeah, fingers crossed. Anyways, that's the crack. Let's take the camera on time lapse. Also, if you are watching this video, maybe you clicked because the title had something to do with Suckler cows. We'll explain more further into the video. That is the hook to reel you in, and then I'll explain later, because I'm quite tired at the minute. It's been a long day in the pipes, and I need to be not as tired to be able to explain properly. So anyways, I'm going to stick the camera on time lapse. We'll move these bales. Going now, lights are on, so I'll drive around the yard and knock it off so you can hear me a bit better. But I'd have broke that mirror that side about 5 more times if I had to put the new one on. But the new one is there, I just haven't put on it because I'm just afraid I'm going to break it again. So shed is cleared out. It's gone a bit late on me, but I'll have to start the small telly and then go put in the wood chip with that and all that. This shed is a gravel floor. They never poured concrete here. To be honest, I don't know why. It's just always been a gravel floor. But then under the grain bins that were, well, there's one still here, that's concreted. And that side is concreted. Fire up this calf feeder. Now it was left running up until very recently, till we actually started the house. And we turned it off because the cousin, when he was going through bits of the house, was connecting and disconnecting the power, because the power for the farmyard runs through the house. Which isn't a great thing, but it is how it is. You should be able to turn on the feeder. I think I have it on feeding mode now. So now that that's on feeding mode, if there is any errors from being in feeding mode, so she's starting to heat up the boilers, yeah. Right. So I'm going to just prick about there for a few minutes and just make sure that she fires up the boilers and that, and there's nothing too wild or exciting. I do now have a temperature mixing bowl too low, which that shouldn't have come on it. So I'm kind of half thinking maybe something is wrong. I'm just trying to figure out how to check the temperatures in the boilers to see what their temperatures are currently. But it is just failing my memory at the minute. I also got a message, Troy, a young lad that works for us. He messaged to say he's abroad tomorrow, so I might get him to come over tomorrow and give Liv a hand and maybe get the calf feeder cleaned, clean out the drinker in the shed, and do a lot of small stuff, line up gates and stuff. Be a massive, bloody massive help to getting this ready. I keep at it until I figure it out, so I just want to double check that I'm not going to have an issue, and she's going to start circulating and rinsing itself for the next 3 days, just to help rinse out everything. I now have it working. Well, now when I say working, I have it doing what it's supposed to do. What I can't really check is the feeders. I'll check them tomorrow, so just get a button tag, check to see does it let head to it and let head out. But yeah, I have this. Seems to be working. Everything seems to be functioning as should be. After the season, it was washed down, it was left rinsing, it was all that, but now it just needs a pre-season cleanup and service, change the pipes. So anyways, I'm going to leave it at that for today, and we'll pick it up again tomorrow night, and hopefully it'll be nice and clean. We'll get a try at that tomorrow, and he'll get a power work done for me tomorrow just to help getting that set up. Happy out. It is another night. Let's get another bit done. So Troy was here today, the young lad, the young neighbour, gives us a hand. He's off for midterm, so he messaged me. He said he'd come give us a hand. And he has all the gates in place. He has the feeder cleaned, so he wiped it all down, cleaned it all up. He's got the trough out, ready to rock and roll. He's done all the small bits and bobs that was taking me time, so saved me a lot of time. So now it is late. We had a good few people call this evening for bags of oats and bags of barley, half-ton bags. So I'm going to get the wood chip in tonight. It's 10 o'clock, or is it after 10 o'clock? It's 10 o'clock. So I'm going to get the wood chip in, and then that leaves me tomorrow night, move the pallets, round the bales, and we're ready for calves Thursday. Just want to move. He's gathered up all the gates as well. All our gates, we bought these are sheep gates. And we bought these basically when we started rearing calves. You could say 10 years ago, this year I think these were bought. And it was probably the best money was ever spent. They're not ones with the pins, they're the ones with the cups. They basically just hook into each other. So you never lose pins, so you're never stuck that the gates don't go together. So yes, there's quite a depth of wood chip in there now. It's probably about 1.5 feet deep in the middle, maybe more. And some of you may be wondering what's the purpose of the wood chip, or why we're using wood chip. The reason we use the wood chip is it's not because it's soakage, but because it provides drainage, if that makes any sense. Because the wood chip, now the stuff we have here is more finely chopped than the stuff that will be arriving Thursday, so I might put a wee skin on top of this, but the purpose of that is we'll put straw on top of this, and if you bed a shed with straw, you get the dampness from the calves. Liquids rises through the straw and it rises up and everything gets damp, and you're always bedding and bedding and bedding, trying to raise the dampness rising. Whereas we found with the wood chip, because it doesn't soak the liquid up that terrible much, the liquid goes through the wood chip to the ground. So then you end up with your wood chip providing you a barrier between your liquid, which soaks down through everything, and your straw on top, helping keep the straw drier, which makes it cleaner, which makes it last longer, which makes the calves more healthy. So that's why wood chip, and it worked well last year, so we're doing the same again. So the reason this area has a lot of wood chip is because this is the high traffic area. Now the first 20 calves that come in here, they'll be in here, they won't know any different, and the training pen will be set up in this alleyway here, giving them this section here, because you'll all explain in the next video training pens and that. But this is the high traffic area. So when the shed is in full flight and there'll be 100-ish calves in the shed, this area here is where the feeders is, the drinker is, and all the meal troughs will be here. So this is where the calves come to feed and eat and drink, and then they go to the rest of the shed to lie down and sleep and play. So this is the high traffic area, which means it's usually the muckiest area, which means it's just where usually the most mess is. So the deeper the wood chip, hopefully the longer it lasts. It worked well last year. Up next to feeders, and in the very mucky areas, you could say, we just keep bedding wood chip, because it just stays cleaner, whereas you put down straw and you get muck on it, and you put straw down and the muck and the straw and the muck, where you put the wood chip in, it kind of goes in through it, so works a bit better. Anyways, that's the wood chip in. I'm going to stop ranting. We'll pick it up again tomorrow, and I'll talk about sucklers before we finish the work, which is basically moving the pallets, putting them behind the camera there, and then just getting some bales, popping them along the gates here, block up that corner, and jobs are good and we're ready for calves Thursday evening. Pick it up again tomorrow. The third night getting ready for calves. Yes. And we're nearly finished where we are working, so tomorrow we'll actually be finished in Tom McConnell, Bridesville, the far side of Athlone, Roscommon area, and we'll be back a bit closer to home. So we'll have a bit more time maybe. Maybe not. I don't know. There's a lot of slurry on. We'll be busy up until March with it. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. It's time to get into the meat of the video. You've had your spuds, you've picked around your veg. Now you want the good bit. You want the meat bit. I suppose to start the suckler story, we may go back in time and back to what we used to do with sucklers, why we got out with sucklers, and then we get into why I'm thinking of going back into sucklers. So we used to be on the farm here in me father and uncle's time a pedigree herd of limousine cows. There was some crossbreds in it, but it was mostly pedigree limousines. They were running before TB in 2004. They were breeding pedigree bulls for sale and show. My uncle had some great bulls in his time and heifers and whatnot, and there were maybe 120 suckler cows between the two of them ish. I could be wrong in that. But then into 2004, for those of you who don't know, tragedy struck on the farm and the farm went down with TB. At the time we were also milking cows. My uncle was milking, there was 42 Ayrshires and Jersey cows, and we got hit with TB, and that threw the whole thing out. In the first year alone of TB, they lost 124 head of cattle, and for 8 years consecutively we had outbreaks of TB on the farm. Until 2012 we went clear, and thank touchwood we haven't had a case of TB since. Happened in with the suckler herd after 2004, they lost a lot of their good pedigree cows, they lost some of their good pedigree bulls, and they took, because when you went down with TB you couldn't buy in replacements for what you had lost, because if you lost your replacements you bought into TB you wouldn't receive the compensation for what you bought. So that meant they couldn't replace the pedigree stock, the good stock they were losing. So they ended up keeping all the heifers, kept bulling every heifer to try and keep numbers up. And one of the unfortunate things that happened in doing that, my uncle had a pedigree heifer he brought in from outside of Ireland, I'm pretty sure it was, if memory serves me right, that was quite wild, but had a good pedigree bull calf, and they kept that bull calf as a bull to run with the herd because he was AI'd, he wasn't related, all the rest, but that bred in wildness into the herd of cattle. And in subsequent generations the cattle were getting wilder and wilder, and I have memories because my teenage young life was out with my father and uncle working suckler cows in this shed, going in tagging calves with my uncle and all of that, so I remember, but they were progressively getting wilder and wilder and harder managed. One of my memories of just how bad it was towards the end when we were selling up the suckler cows, we had a batch of heifers on an out farm and they could not get them in. They just would not. They would just go through the hedge if they seen you and would be gone. And over the space of 2 weeks of leaving meal in the pen of the crush on the out farm, and then you'd leave the meal, drive off, the heifers would come in and eat it. And in 2 weeks of that they've decided, right, this will be the day. My uncle tied a rope to the gate of the crush when it was open, weaved it through the hedge into the next field, got out over there, my father drove off in the jeep, the heifers came in and they pulled the gate and the heifers were gone. And that was toward the end of the sucklers. To bring forward the story then to why we got out with the sucklers, when I was in Gurcheen Agricultural College doing my green cert, after doing my leaving cert, doing my third level in Gurcheen, I was part of the course. You had to do a 5-year plan. What were you going to do farming when you got home to the farm? And from when I started secondary school, I started rearing calves on the farm. Dairy bred calves like we are now, more Angus and Herefords than Friesians, but there was always 20-40 calves every year. I was rearing calves. And as part of it, I got my hands on the accounts and seen that they were losing money on the sucklers. The sucklers weren't making any money. So my plan was always to go down that road because it was what we were doing. And actually in 2015, the year that I done my first year in Gertrude, done 2 years there, they bought 80 calves. I think there was 30 heifers on it. The rest were bulls or bull calves. And the plan was with the heifers was to bull them and then have them for me coming back to have my own wee suckler herd as part of the overall herd, so I'd have a source of income. But because I seen that they weren't making money on the sucklers, and that was purely because just the prices were bad in comparatively speaking, the prices weren't great. Efficiency mightn't have been that best either, but just there wasn't money in it. So I changed my farm plan to say, right, with these 80 calves, if I brought them all to beef, how much could I make? And then if I bought more calves, got sold the sucklers, and just went all dairy calf to beef, could I make money? And in my 5-year plan, I could see I could make money. It made sense. And I come home and says, right, this is what we need to do. And to be fair to my father and uncle, I don't remember when I came home and said this much opposition to it at the time. I think they were getting a bit tired of just how hard the cows have become to handle. I was quite lucky that they embraced it, and we went down that road. And we sold the last of the suckler cows in 2016. A good few of them went in 15, in the tail end of 15, but the last of them all went in 2016, which is 10 years ago next year. Now we've done a full loop of the shed and we're back to now. Why am I thinking of going back towards suckler cows now? It's a multifaceted reasons. You can let me know in the comments below whether you think I'm right, I'm wrong, and all the rest. But I suppose one of the biggest reasons that I'm now thinking this way is because every spring we go at Slurry, and while we're at Slurry, I could be in a field for an hour or 2 hours, and there's not a lot to do. So you just start thinking about things, and you start doing maths on the dust on the dashboard, and calculators out, and you're dreaming and scheming all sorts of things. And this is the thing that has been occupying my mind at the minute. The reason for it is beef prices are so high, and they're still climbing. It's kind of hard to believe where beef is at the moment. No sign of it slowing down. No reason as to why it's gone so high. This isn't like when the Ukraine war started and grain prices shot through the roof, and they have come back since. There doesn't seem to be a reason as to why beef is so good, but beef is brilliant. Beef is amazing. And yes, we rear our calves. Am I going to be changing it? No, we're still going to rear our calves. But I suppose what am I thinking of doing, or will I say why I want to do it? No, which is the best way of putting it. We'll start off with what I'm thinking of doing, then we'll say why I'm thinking of doing it. But beef prices are really good, and looking at what cattle are making in the marts and stuff like that, suckler calves are starting to make savage money. Just to put it in comparison's sake, when we were at suckler cows back in the day, a suckler calf, they used to finish a lot of them, but towards the end it was more selling them on as weanlings and then going on to other farms for finishing after the fact. But you're averaging 500, 700, 800 quid, and that's what made it unsustainable. Now them same calves are making limousine Charlie crosses. Limousines are making 14, 15, 1600s depending on the weight, which is a lot of money compared to what they were. What am I thinking of doing? Well, we have heifers on the farm. Now we've started to try and phase out the heifers that we were buying in as calves because it's just becoming more and more hassle. So we're trying. Last year now we bought very, very few heifers. We have maybe 10 or 12, but we have a good batch of heifers from the previous year, 2022s, that be 2-year-old now. We have some that are in for finishing, some that won't make finishing, that are going to go back out for a 3rd year and then come in for finishing. But I'm thinking with those heifers, I think there's 11 of them, that maybe my best option or a different route for them would be to put them in calf. Now, there's multiple options with putting them in calf. I could AI them, I could buy a bull. We also have live 3 cows, keep them, so that gives me 14 cows straight away, so to speak. So the options there are It's multifaceted. I tell you, if I could get all this in here onto the camera, I'd be doing well and keep it interesting and to the point. But my theory would be buy a bull, put out with the cows for calving in and around Christmas before the ban starts, so that it's a tough one. You go spring calving and you calve the cow and you let the cow and calf out, and happy days. But in the spring, as with now, I'm not here, I'm away spreading slurry. It's hard done watch cows calve when you're not here. Back in the days when that was going on, my father had an employee to go at slurry, my uncle was here to calve the cows. I'm not here, Liv is here, but Liv has no experience with dealing with sucklers or dealing with cows apart from her 3 pets out there, but not more cattle, so to speak. But the other alternative is we have the period between the bans where I'm mostly at home in the yard. So we could do autumn-winter calving, which might suit better, but you have a cow and a calf in the shed. I suppose the first thing, have we shed space? Yes, we do. We currently have that shed there that has grain in it. There's only 2 load left in it. There's no cattle. It's a 4-bay shed. No cattle in it. We also have where the weanlings are. There's 2 bays in that shed taken up with machinery that could be put somewhere else. So there's shed space. Because we have the new farm and we have 100 cattle up there, we now have space here. We also have lots of silage over. And we also, the ground that we outwintered the bullocks on wasn't grazed in the back end, which means I also have the ground. I believe I have the extra ground there to be able to graze 20 to 30 suckler cows with a bull. Why a bull and not AI? Because a bull in the space of 6 weeks should do what he needs to do. AI, I don't have a trained eye to AI cows, nor do I have the experience, so a bull will do my job. It's more expensive, but it's pros and cons. Let me know in the comments. The big theory behind it all, anyways, what I'm currently thinking, you know, let me know in the comments, is have them calves, have them heifers there that are going back out. If I buy myself a pedigree limousine or a pedigree Charlie, the reason for either limousine or Charlie is because they're making the premiums in the marts that I can see. The plan would be not to finish the cattle, but get them to a year old or a weanling stage and then sell them, so that I just keep a flow of cattle, so I don't end up with a heap of cattle I can't sell, or that's my thinking on it. But them 2 breeds make the premium, so if we put them on what we have won't make over hectic cows. There's no point saying they're going to be as good as the cattle that I've said before that we're making 14, 15, 1600. These, they're the top end suckler herd. What I'll be putting in won't be, but with a half decent limousine bull and you get LMX on the card and the dam on the screen in the mart doesn't say FR, FRX or JX, I don't think it'll be too bad. I'm starting to get dizzy going round in circles. So that's what I'm thinking. There's pros and cons to it, but the way I look at it is I have the extra ground where we don't have. Now I could rear more calves. That is another option. But one of the reasons I'm thinking of the sucklers might be a good idea is the cow itself is a pot of money. If I put 20 to 30 suckler cows together, it's a pot of 25, 30, 40,000. Producing me a bit that if I ever needed to, if a piece of land come up and I needed a deposit, or if I wanted to decide I wanted to knock the timber shed and build, I needed to have a deposit to put against the borrowing, something like that I have a pot of cash just sitting there. Just go to the mart and you have a pot of cash got, and you don't replace them, so to speak, but it's a pot. That's my main thinking. If I do that, I have something that could work for me for 5 years or whatever. I could be breeding back in better stock from them stock, and at some point if I want to cash out, I can cash them out and have a pot of money that I can do something else with. That's my main thinking behind it, because we have the extra ground, we have the extra silage, and we have the space. Whereas if I put in extra calves, I get extra output, but that all just goes into the input-output cycle, and keeping that tied up somewhere is hard done. Whereas the cows, it's like a pot. When I need it, I sell the cows, I have a pot. That is literally the thinking behind it. And the reason that I think is the suckler cow is now very much back in vogue. Any of you boys that stayed at them are really, I'd say really loving it at the minute, because it just makes sense if you were at it to be at it now. Yeah. Am I sad that we left suckler cows? No, because if the harsh reality of the fact of the matter was our cows have gone very hard to handle. In 2016 we had our grain tillage crisis, we had our massive grain losses, and we had swapped to dairy calf to beef. In 15 went into big numbers, in 16 when we could, that we were able to keep the farm. If we had stayed at Sucklers and not got into the calf game in a big numbers and got rid of the cows, we probably would have had to have sold land just to get ourselves out of the hole that the tillage had put us into. And that's why we kind of had to get out of the cows. If we'd have stayed out, we'd have been really because there was just no money in them. But now is different. 10 years later, the whole game is flipped upside down on its head. Look, there still is money in the calves, in the dairy calf to beef, but the suckler cow, she's back in vogue now. And anyways, I'm tired. I hope you can understand what I've been trying to say, but that is the gist of it. If you have any suggestions, anything like that, let me know in the comments down below. I've said it to Father Phil. He didn't say no. He started telling me all the reasons why it's a hard thing, but I think it'll be worth it. I have some reservations. One of my biggest ones would be that Liv hasn't the experience of dealing with suckler cows. I have. I know how hard it is. I had a cow one time put me across. There was a gate across there, and we used to calve cows and where the straw is, and a cow put me across the gate when we were trying to tag a calf. The investment that I need to do the likes of that is I have to buy a calving jack, because I threw the one we had into the skip in my naivety, and a calving gate, which is basically a gate with a headlock in it that you can put a cow in, and you can close a gate behind her that you can calve her safely. After that, a that and a bull. That's the investments that I need. If anyone has pedigree, Charlie or limousine bull, let me know. I'm still thinking about it. We might do it, we might not do it. I think it's an option. Let me know in the comments. This is just me ranting on an opinion, but I really do think the suckler cow is definitely back in vogue. And anyways, before Liv comes over to me, she's feeding her goats in a minute to see what have I done for her tonight, I better get this calf shed finished. And that is it. Calf feeder on. Seems to be working. Shed done. So we'll let the calves lie in the wood chip for a night or two, and then we'll scatter out the straw. So happy days. We're ready to rock and roll. Calves coming tomorrow, and it all starts again. So we'll film the first calves coming, maybe for second batch, and see how everything goes. The main thing is ready to rock and roll. So anyways, look, if you have any questions or anything like that, let me know what you think of my idea about getting back into sucklers. Am I mad? Am I right? And everything in between. Anyways, I'm going to leave it at that for today's video. As always, please like and subscribe to the channel. Videos every Tuesday, Thursday and Sunday. That's it from me. Good luck. Oh, I forgot. The reason we put the bales up there and that is to stop the draft or wind blowing into the shed. Keep the calves a bit warmer and a bit more comfortable. Oh, I'm getting tired.